Welcome back to Taja's Garden. I'm the gardening realtor. If you're new here, I'm glad you're here, and if you're returning, welcome back. Today we're going to run down a full list of 23 plants that you can be direct sowing or transplanting into your garden in April. We are also going to be adding in a few flowers as well. Starting with the beginning of April, we're talking celery, calendula, bachelor's button, dill, and cilantro. The only one that you're going to be transplanting out of all 5 of these is going to be your celery. Celery prefers cooler temperatures, so now would be the perfect time to go ahead and transplant it. If you started them out from seed, if you did not start them from seed yet, you can go to one of your local gardening shops and get a transplant and transplant it into your garden. Celery definitely grows like a snail. It grows really slow, so you don't want to try to start it from seed right now, or it might bolt on you once it gets warmer outside. So speaking of bolting on you in warm weather, now we're going to talk about cilantro. Cilantro does its best when direct seeded in cool weather, which makes it perfect to direct seed it right now, because it definitely will bolt on you. You definitely want to make sure that you grow it in the cool season as long as you can, because once it warms up, it will bolt really quickly, but it can reseed itself. The next one to direct sow would be your dill. Dill is great for those pollinators. If you let it go to flower, they have beautiful yellow flowers, and they're also a great companion plant. Dill prefers to be planted in full sun and well-draining soil. The next one for you to be direct sowing would be calendula. You can start this inside or you can start it directly outside. I will say that if you are direct sowing plants outside, as long as the soil is warmed up to at least 55 degrees or higher preferably, the plants will definitely grow better outside. Honestly, they'll grow quicker outside, but like I said, you can definitely start them indoors if that's your only option. Calendula is a cold hardy flower with medicinal properties. And it's also a fantastic flower for your pollinators. They absolutely love them. And the last one to direct sow for the beginning of April would be bachelor's button. This is a drought tolerant flower and it blooms beautifully in the spring. It's also an edible flower. It attracts your pollinators. I plan on putting these in my salads, making tea out of them. They're just overall a beautiful flower. If you haven't seen them, this is how it looks. Overall, just a very beautiful flower, and it blooms in 42 days. So it doesn't take long at all to bloom. As long as the soil is warm, it doesn't take that long to actually sprout either. Now let's move over to your middle of April plant. So this is going to be your Shasta Daisy, Marigold, squash, thyme, and parsley. Shasta daisies are absolutely beautiful. Let me see if I can. Un momento. Here you go. These are the Shasta Daisies. They are absolutely stunning. They're low maintenance and they bloom in late spring and summer. So I'm growing some of these. I just direct seeded these in my starter trays and I plan on transplanting these outside soon. Yeah, this is the Alaska Shasta Daisy. And of course, Marigold. I hope you didn't think this wasn't going to be on the list. Marigold is one of the most popular companion plants in the garden. It deters certain pests, but it also attracts certain pests too. Last year I had grew marigold next to my okra, and I had it next to my mustard greens. And these things were covered in aphids. That's not to say that there were not any aphids on my plants next to it, but I'm sure it probably would have been more if this wasn't there. So if you are not direct sowing or planting marigold in your garden this year, I highly recommend it. it is a very, very important plant to add to your garden. Not only is it a very good companion plant, but it is fantastic for the pollinators, and you are attracting those pollinators to your plants. So in turn, this is going to help you get a great harvest. The next one is squash. So the middle of April is the perfect time to be direct sowing your squash, your zucchini, anything in the squash family. They grow extremely fast. I would not recommend purchasing this from the store because it doesn't make any sense. The other day when I went to one of these big box stores and I saw these seedlings, these squash and cucumber seedlings, it kind of irritated me because these plants were extremely leggy, and they didn't even have their true leaves yet. They still had their seedling leaves. So there's literally it was just a waste of money, honestly. It's going to be very cheap and a better harvest in the long run if you purchase your own seeds. Trust me, they grow so fast if you grow them during the right time. All right, so next is thyme. Thyme could actually be direct sown or transplanted in the middle of April. It's perfect in dry, sandy, easy draining soil, and you can obviously dry it and use it for seasonings. But yeah, middle of April, perfect time for thyme. And the last for middle of April is parsley. Parsley needs to be transplanted during this time. It grows pretty slow as well, but they prefer rich, moist soil, and it can thrive in partial sun or full sun. Last but not least, the end of April. I know we're so sad that this video is coming to an end soon, but these are your final plants that you could be starting at the end of April, or you could even do it at the beginning of May, honestly. Some of these, if I don't get to them towards the end of April, I will definitely get to them towards the very beginning of May. So your cucumber needs to be direct sown. It grows extremely fast. It needs rich, moist soil, and don't forget to get a trellis because it needs something to climb up on. If not, if you just have it growing out on the soil, it's going to get diseased and you probably won't have a big harvest. Next is your eggplant. If you haven't started your eggplant yet, which I just started about 12 of these, they take a really long time to germinate. They're in the same family as tomatoes and potatoes. They're all nightshades, peppers too. They take a really long time to germinate. So I planted these seeds the middle of March, and they took about 2 weeks to germinate. So that's normal. You can give them a little heat. You start them indoors, direct sow them outside, whatever you prefer. End of April would be perfect if you haven't started them already. Eggplants are heat-loving plants. They do well in garden beds, in ground, and containers. Okay, next is your honeydew melon. It needs warm soil. It takes a little longer to develop than your cantaloupe. They prefer full sun, and you definitely want to make sure that you give it a lot of water because these cantaloupes, watermelons, melon, any type of melon, they're all mainly water. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep it well watered and give it full sun. It needs a lot of energy to get big. Next are your peppers. So end of April is the perfect time to transplant your peppers outdoors. Peppers are a tropical plant, so they thrive in warm weather. They will be stunted if they end up experiencing any type of cold weather. So you definitely do not want to risk that. I already put my peppers outside, and if it gets cool, you can just simply cover them with a frost cloth. But if you prefer the wait, end of April is the perfect time to transplant your peppers outdoors. Next are your pumpkins. Pumpkins, you can direct sow these outside at the end of April or beginning of May. Pumpkins need a ton of space, and depending on the variety that you are growing, if you want to grow a small variety, you can easily trellis them up to save space so they're not all sprawled out on the ground. But if you are growing a bigger variety, you definitely want to make sure that you give them enough space to grow to their full potential. Next is corn. You can direct sow your corn at the very end of April or beginning of May. The best way to plant your corn are in blocks. You can actually plant your corn in raised beds and grow bags as well. Most people don't know that, but you just want to make sure that you don't overseed them in these containers, because if you don't give them enough space, they won't grow as big as they should, and you probably won't get a nice size corn. Sometimes you may end up with corn, if it's not pollinated correctly, you're going to end up with corn cobs that are missing a few kernels. So if you plant these corn patches in blocks, it'll make it easier for the plants to be wind pollinated. Next are your sweet potatoes. Now these are grown from slips and not seeds. It requires warm soil. You definitely want to make sure you give it full sun. And this is another plant that you want to make sure you give a lot of space to. Next are tomatoes. Now tomatoes love the heat, so this is the perfect time, the end of April. I've already put mine outside, but do as I say and not as I do. Tomatoes do best during the warmth season, the warm season. They absolutely love your summer temperatures. They are a Mediterranean plant, so you kind of want to make sure that you mimic that weather. They prefer not to be in the cool. It will stunt their growth the same as peppers. Tomatoes have these little hairs on the stem of tomato plants actually grow as roots. It serves a more purpose than just roots though. These are actually supposed to help the plant to keep it from pests that travel along the stem line to try to go up to the leaves, but they also grow as roots. So you want to make sure that you tear these stems off whenever you're ready to plant them, and plant it up as high as you can. Plant it very deep, because this will guarantee that it gets a deeper, stronger root system, which in turn is going to give you more tomatoes. Next is your okra. Now this is the okra that I'm actually going to be planting. Okra is a heat-loving plant, just like tomatoes, just like peppers. You definitely want to make sure that you wait until you plant them. Well, you want to make sure that you wait until the warm temperatures so that you can plant them. They grow extremely fast. Make sure that they are planted in well-drained soil. You can grow them in, you can grow dwarf-sized okras in containers, and make sure that you give it full sun. Next are sunflowers. Sunflowers can be direct sown. They grow pretty fast. They have tons of options out there for sunflowers. You can get dwarf size, or you can get the ones that grow absolutely huge. Sunflowers are beautiful plants, and this is the time to be direct sowing them. Next, bush beans. Bush beans can be direct sown. They love warm temperatures, and they are a fast growing plant. They are absolutely great for succession planting as well. If you want to be able to harvest beans all season long or all year long, just continue to direct sow these every month. Next is your watermelon. Now watermelon actually grows faster when you direct sow it outside versus starting them indoors. Watermelon doesn't like for you to mess with its roots very often. You can also grow smaller varieties in containers, like your bush baby watermelons. That's the ones that I love growing, because I don't have a huge garden, but I prefer to grow smaller varieties so I can have more space to grow everything else. So your bush baby or any other smaller variety of watermelon can grow in containers as well, and they absolutely love the heat, the hot weather. And last but not least, cantaloupe is a heat-loving plant as well, so this is the perfect time to be direct sowing. They love warm soil. Make sure you give it a lot of space to grow, but you can also grow smaller varieties in containers as well. They thrive in well-drained soil and full sun, just like your watermelon. Well, there you go. We got through it. We got through all 23 plants that you can be direct sowing and transplanting in April. We broke them down by the beginning, middle, and end of April to make this a little bit easier. If you have any questions, drop them down in the comments below. And if you have not already subscribed, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time.